Facebook Live. We are live tonight for the first time on Facebook. This is the Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast, coming to you live from my home. Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast, coming to you live Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Okay, this is the first time I'm coming live on Facebook, so bear with me. I'm still becoming tech savvy. As you can see, I like to play my house music, kind of gets me going, and I'm just waiting for all of my hosts to come in, for this BFDK podcast, getting live, first time on Facebook, every Tuesday. You can also check out previous podcasts on YouTube. Subscribing to my channel, which is Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to past episodes. Oh, hey, I do not have a license for this music, so it is playing. I love to start mine with some house music. Boom. As you can see, turned that off. I'm just waiting for folks to zoom in and tune in tonight. While we're at it, tonight's topic, Black Dads Matter. And we do. As you can see, I have on my Black Fathers Matters shirt. I have all my gear set up, my mic, my computer, my laptop. I always keep my trusty drum to the side. Gives me some of that inspiration. My Udinde drum. I love this thing here. Angie, if you're tuning in and you have watched this and seen this, you know what this is. I'm going live right now. Some folks are going to be coming in soon. I'm hitting record. Yes. Welcome again to the Black Fathers, Dads, Kings podcast, Tuesday night, December 21st, a couple of days before Christmas. I want to send a shout out to everyone who will see this, view this. Go to my YouTube channel, which is Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast. Subscribe. You will be able to see posts and previous episodes coming in live. We have right now, one of my brothers tuning in right now, Mr. Brad Howard. Yes, sir. My brother, Brad Howard, how are you? Hey, it's good, man. It's good to hear your voice. Good to see your pic, man.
And listen, I'm out here with my neighbor, actually my third brother, and I said it's time for me to get on. So when I can have a more appropriate look, I turn the camera on.
I hear you. I get it. I'm with you on that. But I want to thank you for tuning in and zooming in for tonight's podcast. I just want to express to you, your frat brother and my brother-in-law just tuned in, Edgar Milton.
Edgar Milton Jr.?
Yes.
Yo, what up, Sands?
Can you hear him, Brad?
What up, Sands? Can you hear me? I don't know what happened.
Yeah. He said he was outside.
Oh, okay. What's
Yeah.
up, bro?
Got on that big proud Michigan jacket there. I see you.
You know it's been a while, John.
Yeah, repping Michigan.
Yeah, they had the Michigan jacket.
There go Brad.
What's up, Sands?
Now Jules, you got the Michigan jacket on, but that giant symbol in the back there, that flag, you killing the football vibe right now, man. You killing the football vibe, bro.
Come on, bro. You know what time it is.
You
This my neighbor right here, man.
oh.
Brother Jones, what's going on, man?
Your cousin Jared.
That's Jared Briggs, man. It's Copper, man. It's a good brother right there.
Hey, Thank you, my brother, for tuning in. You stand next to a good man right there, my brother, your neighbor. Good man, good man.
I got my earbud in. He just listening and shaking his head like he don't speak English, but yeah.
Got you. I see that we got some folks tuning in. I'm on Facebook Live for the first time, so bear with me. I got two things working here, Facebook Live, and I'm on Zoom with this BFDK podcast. I got David Pleasant, who's reacting right now. Willie Chisholm, one of my old teammates from high school. He's zooming in. Also, my cousin nephew, all the way, I believe, from Florida, zooming in and Facebook living in. So yes, I'm glad all you guys have come in, zoomed in, and tuned in tonight. This is a very special day for me because it has allowed me to kind of reach a different audience, a broader audience, and plus those who have been my, B1 and D1s from the beginning of this 4 weeks ago. My brother-in-law, Edgar Milton, and I see Sherman's tuning in right now, who's been here from day one. Again, if anybody's interested in seeing, welcome, brother. Anybody interested in seeing previous or viewing any previous podcasts, please go to YouTube, Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast. Zoom in and tune in at that time and subscribe. And you can watch all previous podcasts.
You got it, bro.
I actually see one of my basketball daughters. I believe she's zooming in and tuning in at this time, Kaylon Wilson. Is that her available? Kaylon, unmute yourself.
Hi, Coach.
Hey there. Welcome home. If anybody who needs to know, Kaylon Wilson is now a member of the women's basketball team at the University of Buffalo, where she's a freshman. And I like to feel like we had some kind of input in that, but 99% of it was on her efforts, her ability to play at the next level has afforded her a full-ride scholarship, women's basketball at the University of Buffalo. I see sitting next to Sherman, one of my other goddaughters in life, Taylor Nelson, who I believe is still what is your position, Taylor?
I'm the athletic operations coordinator at Union County College.
There you go. Live and in person, here they go. These are all of young ladies that I have kind of like touched in their lives and inspired them in a way to move and pursue what it is that they do. Taylor is a graduate of Dominican College, then receiving her master's degree at your alma mater, June, I believe, Montclair State. And again, Kaylon is a freshman at the University of Buffalo. Now, for you ladies tuning in, okay, this is the Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast. I'm quite sure Taylor Sherman is kind of, gave you some insight on what we do here on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. So I'm glad to see you in here. And Brad, what we pretty much do with this podcast is to sit down and talk to Black fathers. Tonight's kind of like a open forum on some questions and some statistics and some stats that I kind of like looked up in reference to what we are as Black fathers, dads, and kings. One of the things that I actually kind of like went over and doing some research on is the Institution for Family Studies, which they have an article out by a brother named Kenneth Braswell, who also with Stacy Bridgette highlighted some information, some things that I just want to go over and review with you guys and point out some questions and some highlights. One of them is that when it comes to black men and fathers, promoting responsibility fatherhood should be the focus of all institutions as well as grassroots efforts in society. Anybody have any comments on that?
Go ahead, Sherman.
Unmute yourself, sir.
Read that again. I didn't hear it all.
Okay. Promoting responsibility with fatherhood should be the focus of institutions as well as grassroots efforts in society. Black fatherhood, to be specific. Do you think it's an institutional thing, a grassroots thing, like what's happening now with the BFDK podcast, or something that's just, prevalent in society?
It's prevalent. I don't think it's grassroots. I guess I'm making an assumption being a father is something we're supposed to do whether you're a biological father or you have it could be adopted or just family members, friends that don't have fathers. So I think you should be, every man should be father all the time.
Right.
So I don't think it's a grassroots thing. I think that's something we should supposed to be doing
Right.
all the time.
Valid point, my brother. Valid point. And Brad, let me just ask you the same thing. Promoting responsible fatherhood should be the focus of institutions as well as grassroots, or the efforts, period, in society.
I think the efforts of society overall, but I do think the school system should have more input. Unfortunately, our brethren, quite a few of them, particularly in the more urban communities, and because they're larger in population, the men fall down. So, in school, subliminally, it's like, call your mother, instead of trying to see if the father is also involved. But mom is always the first and most dependable person you go to. And this is not knocking our women, because I appreciate our women holding us down. And when I say us, I'm a responsible father, I believe, but, we have too many of us that have fallen down, so the women are definitely holding us up as a people.
Right.
But I think the school system is complicit in kind of pulling the black male role, the father role, away from the father.
Got you. Valid point. Valid point. My brother June, same question.
I would add to that also, Brian. You're absolutely right, because if we look at the institution, unfortunately, there's a shortage of black male role models and teachers and professors that are actually setting the example. And we have to remember that responsibility, as Sherman said, falls on us. Good. Even though we were, myself, growing up as a mother, being a backbone, that was something I was taught. Just thinking about my upbringing, the things that moms had to do to keep everything afloat. But the knowledge that she instilled with me, that there's certain things that you need to do. And I give you a little prime example. For instance, Johnny, you know this. We had a toy giveaway on Saturday, and we had a lot of single black females come in with their children.
Right.
And when I looked at the Latino children, the pops was dead. And this young lady comes out, and she was so excited because everything her kids wanted and desired for Christmas, Brother John, they picked it up. And she was so excited. And, we took time, we took pictures, and then she said, well, I got to take a minute just to go in my car and thank God and get some joyful tears. And that made my whole day. And I told my brothers, I said, look, if nobody else come and get a toy today, that's what it's all about. And it was good to be able to set that example.
Right.
So you're absolutely right.
Right. And valid point, my brother. And just to reiterate off that, as an educator, and Brad can attest to this, at our particular schools, especially those schools which hold, what you would consider an African American, Latino, Hispanic, person of color there. And when you look around, there aren't a lot of black male teachers. There's a shortage of that. There's a shortage of that. Coach Carl's tuning in right now. He's got his music playing. Mute yourself for a second, Coach.
Coach comes in playing the music. I like it.
Yeah. And what I was saying is that, you know, we have this.
Was that sound?
Yes, that is.
Come on, man, turn that ghetto stuff down, bro.
That's Brad Howard, Carl. Mute yourself, Carl. Mute yourself. He's still in his car. He's figuring it out. Bingo, I just had to throw a mute in there for you for a second, Carl. And back to this question here. Again, institutions, you know, we are what we are when it comes to that. And I know growing up, and I always looked for, because I went to a, you know, private middle school and then went to a public high school, and I had that one male, I'm just going to mute you for a sec, Carl. I had that one male teacher in high school, you know, who happened to be my high school football coach and is now the associate superintendent of schools in Jersey City. Franklin Walker was that man, you know, who I looked to, you know, as a father figure while I was in school those hours there, you know, on the football field and out at practice. He was that man that I revered and feared walking through the hallways there. And those who are on Facebook Live, I see my brother Aaron Muhammad and Willie Chisholm, who were teammates of mine, you know, schoolmates of mine at Lincoln High School, can probably attest to that. But grassroots, such as this BFDK and the movement that, you know, we're trying to come about here with the help of all of you, we should also be hitting the ground running on this conversation about bringing black men and black dads and black fathers should matter consistently, because of the last 2 years, and I said this in previous podcasts, the last 2 years haven't shown us that it is a need, it is a necessity, more than a want, that black fathers involve themselves in the community, in their homes. If it's not with your child, it should be with someone's child. You know, that old adage, that African proverb that says it takes a village. Yeah, well, that village starts with that black male. That village starts with that black father. That village starts with that black king being instrumental in the neighborhood, in these homes, in the educational system, and in and around, you know, where black youth, black male and female youth are evolving right now. And they need that kind of, you know, conversation on a daily basis. We collectively have done it as fathers with our biologicals. Now we just have to reach out and kind of stretch this past what we've done with our homes and biologicals and be able to touch as many as possible. Another point that I saw in this research, which was really interesting to me, is that the share of black children born to single mothers has more than tripled, 24% in 1960 to nearly 70% in 2018, indicating that black fathers are less likely to live in households with children than fathers of other races. Any comment on that?
I don't understand that. I mean, how is that actually possible?
It's a statistic that
70%, you said.
70%.
Large.
I'll read it again. The share of black children born to single mothers has more than tripled, about 24% since 1960, to nearly 70% in 2018, indicating that black fathers were less likely to live in a household where their children than fathers of other races.
Wow.
Yes.
I guess my question would be, why do we think it's like that? And I would say, is it like that because we, as looking at the institution of church, are we not teaching the young black males the responsibility of being a father is not just giving birth to a child, but being there to help nourish that child and take care of that child and train that child up, and we're missing it. And I think we're missing it because of the fact that, let's just be honest, I know we got some young ladies on here, but the bottom line is, do we challenge our brothers when they say, hey, I'm having a child, okay, what are you doing to take care of that child? What's your plan? Do you have a plan? Because it seems to be the norm to say, hey, I got this, I got that, I got this, but guess what? Are you taking care of what God gave you? Because that's a gift when you get a child. We need to understand that there are folks out here that are paying millions of dollars to have a child, and they really want one. But when you get an opportunity to bring birth into this world, hey, that's an awesome responsibility, and I know that's a blessing. So whatever you got to do to make it happen, you need to do it. And we need to challenge our brothers to do that, but I don't think we as black men do that enough. That's just my opinion.
Exactly. And valid point, my brother. And that is one of the reasons why I kind of came up with the idea of this. Because we need to go out and start challenging not just ourselves, but those brothers that we come in contact with, especially young fathers, new fathers, fathers in their, their teenhood and early 20s, early 30s. They're new to this thing called fatherhood, and especially black fathers. I can tell you a story. I was in ShopRite one day, and I saw a young man in there, and he had the baby vest on and had his daughter in the vest, and he had by his hand his son, who had to be no more than about 2 or 3 years old. And I can tell he was a young father because he was walking, had his braids in his hair, he had his, he was sagging a little bit there, but he had his kids, and I had to stop him, and I had to tell him, I said, young man, that's very impressive. And he saw my beard, and obviously he said, OG, thank you. I kind of took a little, offense to the OG, but I got it, I understood where he was coming from when he said that, but I had to say something to him because that's a rarity to see that. And I think that you have to give kudos and flowers to those young men who do that when you see that.
That's right.
You have to let them know that us OGs, we're behind you, brother. We're supporting you. We're proud of the fact that, you're walking through a crowded store, you got your son in one hand, you pushing a cart in another, and you got your daughter, strapped to your chest. And you're walking through a store, and we're talking about ShopRite in Franklin, Somerset County. We're not talking about ShopRite downtown Newark.
Yeah.
So one black man to another, seeing that in that shop right there, I was impressed. I was really impressed. And when you hear about these statistics and these things like this, 70% when it comes to black men in their household versus fathers of other races, that's including Caucasian, Latino, East Indian, other nationalities, Asian, 70%. This is as of 2018.
But John, as we know, that's largely due to the systemic racism. How many races or cultures have been attacked through drugs and violence and rape and everything else? So, family with them. I mean, I would appreciate that too. You know, being an educator in the environment that I've been in for 30 years, but I look at what has caused us to be a dispersed family. You know, and it's all system. You know, when you were younger, when I was younger, because we're men of a certain age that can remember the name of all the original temptations. So,
Right.
but when you look and our families are coming up from the south or wherever they came from, whether it was from the island, it was families together, and they wanted to build, and it was about trying to get your education and getting a good job, and all the things that every other race was trying to achieve. What has retarded our progress? Well, you went to school out in California, in LA, and you was around the LA area. They dropped the cocaine and weed in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
There was a point. It was one block in New York was such a contradiction off of I think Hawthorne Avenue, Nye Avenue. I'm trying to figure out where it was. But
Yep.
there was the liquor store on one corner, a church on the other, a bar on the other, and across the street was a drug rehab.
Right.
It was an alcohol, intervention spot. And that place was just such a contradiction. And so, in no other community, you go to Livingston and you want to have a drink at 10 o'clock at night, or no, 11, 12 o'clock at night. You're not finding a liquor store open in Livingston. And I'm a North Jersey guy, so Essex County. So,
Right.
West Orange and these other places, they shut down.
Uh-huh.
But if you want that, you can come to a more urban environment with large populations of blacks. So it's the access. I could hand a kid 14 years old $50, and they would know where to go bring me some cocaine.
Right.
When you have all those distractions around, obviously it helps to have our people involved with stuff that end up getting incarcerated. So the black man is under attack.
Exactly.
It affects the black family.
Great point.
It's up to us to go and cultivate relationships with these young men and set up situations where we can show them what good rearing of children does. You don't necessarily have to be in the household. I would hope that if you lay down with somebody, you are willing to, take the responsibility. But once you make a baby, become that father. Don't be just a baby's dad.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%, my brother. Everything that you said, my brother June, is valid. And I when I saw this again, I saw the statistic, being born in the 60s and a child of the 70s and 80s and coming up to the current point now, and just saying, wow, when I think about that and seeing other races, seeing Latinos, seeing, Jews and Caucasian and Asian, and I saw, single parents. I saw a single mom in those races. But to say the percentage is 70%, in 2018, a couple of years ago, that number to me, and again, this is based on the Institution for Family Studies, okay? And who runs that, again, he's a black man, Keith Braswell. And to come up with that statistic at that time was something. It also says black fathers are more involved than Hispanic dads and share more responsibility, and generally co-parent better than white or Hispanic non-residential fathers. I thought that was interesting. You come up with this statistic and this number of, since 1960, 70% up until 2018, but black fathers are more involved than Hispanic dads and share more of the responsibility and general co-parenting better than white or Hispanic non-residential fathers. That's an interesting word, non-residential. Basically, you don't reside with the child and the mother. You're out of the house. You're on your own. You're separate. You're something different. But saying that they're more involved than Hispanic or white fathers when it comes to being a non-resident of the home in which their child is reared. I thought that statistic was really, really interesting. And again, this is coming from, the institution of family studies. And that blew my mind right there. Third point, black men experience worse health outcomes than any other demographic group at the age of 45. Black men have a life expectancy that is 3 years less than non-Hispanic white men.
So true, bro. That's because
We have more stress.
Yes, but
we don't go see the doctor as we should.
mm-hmm.
We get a little pain, IBI. And let's just be honest. When we go to the doctor, sometimes we're so afraid to tell them what's really going on.
Right.
We want to get out of the house. We want to get out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take our health as serious as enough as we should.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and this is just me, I got a problem with brothers and sisters and white males, all in general, that don't want to get vaccinated. But yet and still, they'll smoke a cigar, they'll smoke a joint, they'll drink. I said, hey, you are putting stuff in your body. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I love a good cigar, I just finished. But if I can put that in my body and I'm still here, you don't want to put something in your body that can save your life. And now everybody on the social media is blowing up. Stephen A got the booster. It was going to get the booster. You got COVID. Well, guess what? It never said you will get COVID. Now,
Right.
you get it, but the chance of you living is greater. So we go to the old game, Russian roulette. Why play that game? I got my booster out, and I hate needles. Hate needles. That's why I stay with the doctors. But you got to think about, hey, what are you putting into your body? So you're afraid you listen to what? All this nonsense. And 45 started at number one.
Right.
Think about where you get your counsel from. And that's what it is. And I want to go back one thing, Johnny, you talked about. That young male you saw had the baby in the back on his chest.
Yes.
Some boy on his arm. What are we saying? And I know you all see it. To the males that we see going to the store with a woman. The woman pays the bill. They go to the car. The male gets in the passenger seat. The woman unloads the groceries from the cart.
Mm.
In the car and get in the car and drive. Are we seeing anything to that now? I'm guilty. I just watched.
Right. I mean,
Right.
and I get and understand what your point is, and it's valid, my brother. And you're right. You're right. I think that when you see two parts to this, the health question, I've been guilty of it in the past myself. And my health conditions in June, they're well documented. Sherman, they're well documented. Brad, they're well documented. My health issues, and I was one of those up until 2013 that was like that. But when my incident situation happened, and I had what I had in 2013, it made me take a different look at, okay, I mean, at any given time, I could be, out of here. One more of those, and, I'm meeting my maker. So it made me take a different kind of perspective for a minute there on, well, what's more important, and what's the reason why I'm still here. I just really feel that God allowed it and said, well, you weren't ready. I'm not ready for you to come here. There's things you have to do there. You're still a husband. You're still a father. You're still a mentor to many, an uncle, in a lot of cases a brother. And there's things that you still need to do on this side. And so it made me take a different perspective on my health. Although there are times, and I can be honest, we all stand here as men, I've thought about it seriously. I go through my episodes, I go through my ups and downs, ins and outs, and, hospital stays here and there, and I question it. I question it all the time, but when you think about what you said, June, in reference to, say, taking the vaccine with drugs, and, you know, I like to have a good cigar, you know, or take a swizz of wine, or, you know, if I'm socializing, I'll drink some, you know, beer or something, and then you have a problem with taking this vaccine that's going to help your body build up immune. Like you said, it's not going to help, it's not going to prevent you from getting COVID, but it'll just help you build up antibodies so that you can fight it better. You're not hospitalized. You're not going through all of these types of things that happen if you don't have it. You know, so I get it. And a lot of that, again, is based off our fear of the past. The Tuskegee experiments, you know, that whole thing. It scared us. But what black men need to know is that back then in the Tuskegee experiment, there were no black scientists involved in that. There were no scientists of color, male and female, that had their finger on the pulse. You know, when you think of a company like Johnson & Johnson, you know, it's a company that has diversified, you know, since the beginning of its inception. You know, so this is a different phase now than it was back then, the Tuskegee experiment. This is, we got our hands on the pulse now. And I get it, you know, we're a little still, some are still a little hesitant, but if it's going to help protect me to help protect you and vice versa, then we got to ask ourselves a serious question here as men. Is it worth it? You know, because as you can see, this variance, this Omicron variance is popping up like wildfire.
Yes, sir.
Schools are being canceled now, events, sporting events, different things are now going back to the way it was a year ago. And so, you know, how much of that is going to help us, you know, especially as men, black men, you know, be successful in what we need to do to take care of ourselves from a health standpoint, take care of our families, and do the things that we need to do so that we can strive and stay alive and live.
That's right.
You know?
And I gotta tell you, John, I gotta thank you, bro. I haven't called you and told you, but I hope I pronounced it right because I keep messing it up. I have my own cardiologist now.
Right.
I just had that stress test, that EKG.
Uh-huh.
And thank God everything came out okay.
Great.
He just told me, hey, monitor your blood pressure.
Right.
But bro, let me tell you, my heart was beating when I had to go there.
Wow.
That was like the most crucial 5 hours that I've ever went through.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow. And it was good, and I was trying to be calm, and I was cracking jokes. And when I never forget, I'll tell you this, when a woman said you gotta take your shirt off, I said, well, you gotta forgive me because my 6-pack is now a 12-pack, so
Right.
you don't get no toll on this.
Look.
But it was good going through that process and being able to get the good news, everything's okay.
That's a great thing.
You told me that a couple of years ago, but I finally had enough cojones to go get it done.
Hey.
Get it down. And let me share this. Not only yourself, but a good friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine, he had a heart transplant.
Right.
He had a kidney transplant. He was in a hospital for 151 days.
Wow.
Before life was over. And I never forget when he called me and he shared that. And I said, hey, you're the second one that told me this. Bam, make it happen. So I'm just challenging the brothers on there. If you haven't got your heart checked, go get it checked.
And exactly.
Because it's something you need to know.
Hey.
You'd rather know than not know. Right, John?
I second that. And the other thing, from a health standpoint, if you feel something's wrong and it's not feeling normal,
Yep.
something could be wrong.
Absolutely.
It's no harm in letting your ego go out the door, because if you're gone, you ain't gonna have that anyway.
That's right.
Go get it checked. If you have to, search high and low. If you want to find a doctor who's African American or of color, do so. But find it. And say, Doc, this doesn't feel right. I'm tired. I'm breathing a little heavy. You know, I'm getting these, my legs are swollen. I'm getting these headaches. You know,
I didn't know that.
hey, it's a lot. When it comes to that, it's a lot that's entailed that little things that you find out about yourself, you're like, wow, you know, I didn't know that was happening. And I didn't know that was happening, you know. But it shouldn't take a big event like what happened to me in 2013 for you to realize, oh, snap, this is what's going on.
Absolutely.
And again, that is the pretty much the black man's disease.
Absolutely.
Heart failure, coronary artery disease, diabetes. You know, it's kind of like the trifecta now when it comes to black men of a certain age, especially those of us 45 and older.
Absolutely.
You know, we can't do what we used to do. I know Sherman, we used to work out all the time. We used to get out there on the football field and, you know, Malik and all of us. And as much as I want to be able to do that again, my body's just saying, nah. My heart stops me and says, nah. You don't have the heart you had post 2013. This is a different monster we're working with now. We just want you to be able to get up, get out the bed and move. You know, we're cool with you doing that. Now, a little exercise here and there, doing some training here and there, good. But what you did before that, you can no longer do.
No, you can't do it.
And it's okay. I've kind of come to that conclusion that this is okay.
Absolutely.
You know? But I want to thank you guys. Does anybody else have any comments in reference, to that, in reference to the health part of this? Sherman? Brad?
You and I talked all the time about it. So, yeah, I go to get my physical every year. Every 2 years, I get a stress test. Every 3 years, or every 5 years, I get my colonoscopy. So, I don't mess around.
I hear you. Brad? Any feedback?
Sam, what you doing outside anyway?
He was doing what you was doing. You didn't see that big stogie in his hand?
I missed that.
Man, what's up, man? No, listen, man, you know, the queen asked me a question, so my earbud came out my ear for a minute, brother. I was outside, like I said, my neighbor across the street, I was assisting him with something. We have leave bag day. So we're filling leave bags out of the garage.
I hear you, bro.
But,
Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
no, you know what? You were asking about, I think you were response to a comment, and I didn't hear where we were.
The comment was in reference to, I was just throwing out the statistic that black men, have the worst health outcomes than any other demographic and groups, especially at the age of 45. Black men have a life expectancy that is 3 years less than non-Hispanic or white men.
Right, I did hear that.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that? Or are you in some form of phase of that?
Well, thank God that, I go to the doctor. Probably could go more. But I get my annual.
Upgrading, it went out on me. Jeez. I'm sorry those who are on Facebook Live, but my Zoom meeting discontinued on me. Let me see if I can go back in. No. Facebook Live. Just want to let you guys know that my Zoom meeting for the BFDK has kind of gone out on me, experiencing some technical difficulties. But I will be live, Facebook, next week, next Tuesday. Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast, 8 p.m. Having those discussions about Black Fathers. If you want to further watch this episode, please go to my YouTube channel, which is Black Fathers, Dads, and Kings podcast, and subscribe. It's good seeing you guys again. First time on Facebook Live. Love all those who have tuned in, those who have zoomed in. Thank you very much. Hey, this is Johnny Griggs. I'm signing out. Peace. Everyone have a happy and prosperous Christmas. Spend time with your family if you can, and do the right thing. BFDK podcast signing out. Johnny Griggs is out. Peace.